I'd like to dedicate this video to the person, and you know who you are, who recently commented to say that I was like Jay Foreman on a budget. Is this a fair comparison? Let's find out. Yeah, I think we already know the answer to that question. Anyway, today's video was inspired by an argument I had with my sister-in-law, which is the kind of thing that happens when they start easing the contact bans. She said that in German streets, house number 1 is always on the left. I said that can't be true. In our street, number 1 is definitely on the right. She said that depends on where you're standing. Well, that's true, but the convention is that we're standing at whichever end of the street the counting begins. And that means that in our street, number 1 is definitely on the right. So she said her point still stood, our village is just weird, and she told me to Google it, so I did. Apparently I was supposed to wait until after dinner, but never mind, I was right. Now, if you're from North America, you may be used to the block numbering system, which works very well if you have a grid layout. We don't have that here, so instead we just number our houses sequentially, starting with number 1. Sometimes there are gaps in the numbering. Sometimes houses built on the same plot are differentiated using letters or, in some parts of the country, fractions. But mostly it is basically sequential. There are in Germany 2 main systems in use. In the so-called Paris system, you start at one end of the street with number 1 and you count up to the other end with odd numbers on one side and even numbers on the other. In the horseshoe system, you start counting on one side of the road until you get to the end, and then you continue counting on the other side but in the opposite direction. Actually, there is another system which is very old and thankfully quite rare. Back in the day, when house numbers were first introduced, some villages simply numbered all of their houses without regard to what street they were actually on. And then any new houses that were built after that were simply given the next available number. And that resulted in something like this. And yes, this is a real example. It does actually exist. If you ever have to find an address in a place like that, good luck. But in places where sanity is a thing, the question remains on which side of the road is the first house. And the answer is, it depends. If you use the Paris system, number 1 is normally on the left, as in this example which you can find in Berlin. But sometimes it's on the right, as in this example in Düsseldorf. On the other hand, if you use the horseshoe system, number 1 is normally on the right, as in this example, which again is taken from Berlin, except in those cases where it's on the left, as in this case in Braunschweig. And yes, you heard correctly, both systems are used in Berlin, leading to situations like this, where a street using the Paris system crosses a street using the horseshoe system. So once again, good luck. There are some exceptions. Mannheim, for example, uses a very interesting system of its own, about which I was once hoping to make a video, but Tom Scott beat me to it. But the thing to take away from this video is that I was right and my sister-in-law was wrong. And really, that is all that matters. Which is in Berlin. But there are some there. If you ever have to... oh, bugger. Actually, there is another system which is very old and thankfully quite rare. The question remains, on which side of the house? No.